Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And as you know, we've got a new guest for you every week here on the Spotlight Show. Our guest this week, a local celebrity. I love this guy. It's Professor Jim Paisley. How are you, sir? It is so good to have you here.
I'm doing great.
Man,
happy to be here.
Thank you for taking the time to join us.
It's great to be here.
So, I'm an old radio guy from way back. One of the first names I heard when I moved to the Lake of the Ozark was, hey, have you seen Professor Jim Paisley? Have you heard what he's saying? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I haven't. Here he is right here, the dude, the man.
Well, us old guys got to stick together.
Yes, we do, don't we? Absolutely right. Okay, so you have quite the, I was just reading over your bio and all that stuff. You know, people look at Professor Jim Paisley and they think, oh, he's always been a professor, life of ease. It could be anything but the truth, right? I mean, you've done a lot of things over the years.
It's been an interesting road, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. And living here at the Lake of the Ozarks, live right on the water. It's turned out. We had a goal, my wife and I, and we got it, and we're really happy.
Yeah, okay. So how long have you been a teacher of history?
I taught history for 27 years at Columbia College. I also taught for Vincennes University. I did some things for the National Guard. And then, part of my teaching career, and I guess we can talk about that, is I was director of the training division for Missouri Department of Transportation, which a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, okay. So you were teaching and working for the state at the same time?
Yes.
2 jobs?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I had such a strange path, if you will, in that... like everybody else, I got out of high school and I went to college for a couple of years and didn't know what I wanted to do, and I got into construction. Worked construction until I was 31 years old.
What kind of construction?
Oh, you name it. Did a lot of land surveying, a lot of commercial construction, and I did 8 years working at the Callaway nuclear plant.
Really?
Of all things. Yeah, I was a quality control inspector out there.
See, I always said you had this glow to you.
Well,
Maybe
yeah,
it's that.
And then somebody spilled a cup of coffee at 3 Mile Island and screwed up all my plans. So there I was, 31 years old, and thinking, gosh, what am I going to do now? Because they weren't building any more nuclear plants, and I had specialties in things like missile doors and radiation shield walls and that, and I thought, not very saleable.
Yeah.
So of all things, I came home after I'd been laid off, and I told my wife, I think I'm going to go back to school.
Really?
And
you were 31?
31 years old,
okay,
with a wife and 2 kids. And my wife, I got handed to her, my best friend, she said, try it, we'll see what happens.
Right.
And so I started taking classes at night, and I had taken a job at that point with MoDOT. I left the nuclear plant on a Friday and went to work for MoDOT, took a $30,000 a year cut in pay.
Wow, yeah.
And went to work for MoDOT, and I was working construction there. I did, I was one of those guys out there laying asphalt and working in the rock quarries and all of that. But it acted as a motivator for me. Yeah. As bad as the job was and as hard a work as it was my motivator, because when I got off, I'd go to class at night and I would attend school. And surprised myself because, folks, I wasn't a very good student in high school or in my first 2 years of college.
Yeah.
But that motivator drove me to get my first degree, which was business and psychology, and I graduated with a 4.0. And got done with that, and I was still working for MoDOT at the time, and moved into the right-of-way division because I had achieved my degree, and thought, well, I'll just continue to go to school. And I did, and went back and did my graduate studies and got a master's degree in American and European history, so 2 master's degrees, and again with a 4.0, which kind of surprised me.
Wow.
Mizzou offered me a full ride scholarship for my doctorate, and unfortunately I had 2 kids in high school and a wife, and I was already working full time, and I thought, well, I can't do it right now, maybe later. There's still hope, but
right, yeah.
I wound up at that point taking a job with Columbia College teaching.
Yeah.
And so I worked all day long at MoDOT, and then at night I would teach for Columbia College. Well, sooner or later somebody let the cat out of the bag, and they said, you know, you got a guy there at MoDOT that's teaching at night. And so with that, they moved me over to the training division and promoted me all the way up to the corporate university manager, where I taught all their managerial courses and taught people everything from how to drive a backhoe or a dump truck to managerial courses.
Wow.
And so I did those two jobs, and eventually saw an opportunity to go to work for the what do they call it? It's SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency.
Yeah.
And they got me over there teaching for them. And I was the area coordinator for Area I, which goes like from here all the way down towards Rolla in that area, Fort Leonard Wood. Mm-hmm. And I was one of the guys that was, you know, boots on the ground. When something happened, they'd call me and I'd go down before anybody else came out, and I'd do a damage assessment, and then we'd call in the guard or whoever we needed. And while I was there, the Homeland Security found out about me, and so I worked with them a little bit, doing things like active shooter programs for high schools, and I did a lot of different emergency management plans, the state operations plan, that sort of thing. So my career has kind of been, it's not this way, it's been kind of this way.
You've done a little bit of everything,
right,
haven't you?
And what I found fascinating about that whole career path is everything that happened for a reason. It gave me great experience.
Yep.
And the one message I'd like to give everybody out there is, you know, at 31 years old and a construction worker that's been laid off, took a $30,000 a year cut in pay, you have a choice to make. You can sit there and say, well, this is my lot in life, and just give up, or you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps and do something.
Yeah.
And like I say, I was fortunate that I had, you know, a wife that supported me and a family that supported me, and you know, had those opportunities. But like you said, it's paid off, and I couldn't be happier now. The opportunity to do things like this show, the podcasts I'm doing, the radio shows, I'm really enjoying life right now.
Wow. So you see a guy, Professor Paisley, and you don't know there's all of that in that life lived. All right, we'll continue to get to know Professor Paisley a lot more here. Just amazing, isn't it? So don't go anywhere. Come back and join us here on Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center is growing in our community with a new dental location to serve you in Eldon and a new location in Loring. COMC also makes your children a priority with a mobile dental unit serving schools in rural areas where access can be a challenge. COMC also offers OBGYN, sports medicine, pediatric, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, Lake TV's got it all. We think it's hot stuff when things cool down. We spring into action when things start warming up. Of course, summer is one big, huge shootout on Lake TV. And we fall in love all over again when autumn rolls around. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, Lake TV's got it all.
Join Lake TV for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris. Enjoy local stories, local sports, taste the lake, hometown heroes, and more. Have a cup of coffee with Will and Chris, weekdays at 8:02 a.m., 102 and 8:02 p.m. on Lake TV.
Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, where your health is their mission. We're talking with Professor Paisley, Jim Paisley. Could have been a doctor, but you had a family, so you didn't want to get your doctorate there. So one of the things I found so interesting when you sent me over your bio is that you have a baby grand piano, and you play that a lot, apparently, huh?
I do. It's kind of my therapy, you know. I sit there and play the piano for an hour or so, and just kind of calm down. Now, my wife and I have a discussion about that. There's that little shelf on there, and I found it's perfect for setting your drink.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that you should do that.
Really?
And I said, what other purpose is that shelf for? Why do they put them on pianos?
Yeah.
So,
What's your favorite drink? What do you like?
I like scotch.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
like sipping on a little scotch?
Yeah, I do. But I really enjoy playing the piano, and I also have an electronic piano that has the orchestra stuff that comes in with it. So yeah, so it's.
So there's a music gene there too.
There is. I have a lot of fun with it. So yeah.
And you also love to read. I think you've got a library of 1,500 books,
Yeah.
and so you're reading all the time.
I am. I know everybody can do your research on the internet nowadays, but I still like having a book.
Yeah.
And where you can read the whole story, and that's the thing. History is all about stories. So,
yeah, that's what makes it interesting.
It does.
Does. And I think that's the difference between when I was going to school, high school, and stuff like that. It all bored me because it was all about remember this date and stuff like that. But if you get into the story behind it, that's fascinating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It used to be names and dates, and quite frankly, I hated history in high school. And it was taught on Fridays by the coach. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I think that's why people love you so much, love listening to you, is because you're telling the story. It's not just dates and names and, there's the whole fascinating true story behind it. That's pretty incredible. So you have been here at the lake, I think, since 1974, is that right?
Yes, my wife and I have been here a long time.
Wow.
I've seen it really change.
Wow, okay, so we're talking almost 50 years.
Yeah.
So what kind of changes have you seen? Did it go from all dirt roads to all paved roads, or what's that been like?
A lot of gravel roads. To give you an idea, we used to go cove out, in 6 Mile Cove, there wasn't a house in there. Not one, not a single house. I had a 14-foot boat with a 40-horse, and we lived at the end of Horseshoe Bend, and we could take it across to Millstone, which was a big thing back then. Square dancing was the big deal down here.
Yeah.
And we would go over there and watch the square dancers and have dinner in a 14-foot boat and come back and never see another boat.
And never got swamped, never got a wave that's 10 feet high coming at you.
A lot different back then.
Oh,
sure was.
My gosh, yeah. I was talking with one of the fire guys surrounding Shootout, and he was kind of telling me the same thing.
Yeah.
When we started Shootout, everything was gravel roads back then, and I mean, it's really changed over the years.
It really has, and there weren't any hospitals. We had old Doc Haggerty up on the strip, was the only place you could go. As far as grocery, we had Carl's Market, which was Carl's Market and Hardware Store, and it sat at 42 and 54, which, there again, if you needed something from the hardware store, they didn't even, at that point, they didn't even have a hardware store in Jeff City. We'd go all the way to Columbia.
Wow.
So, things have changed, folks. It's a lot better now, right?
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to it, but there's definitely
exactly.
some positives. Well, and you being a history guy, and we're down to our last minute here, but there's so much history around here too.
Exactly.
Just local history that I'm sure you kind of have fun with.
Oh yeah, like we did a show earlier on Lake TV about the St. Patrick's Church, and my family came here from Pennsylvania in the early 1800s. And my great-grandfather actually helped build that church on O Road, and his farm was right there at Mill Creek Cove, and when the lake filled up, it flooded his farm. Wow. Yeah, so my family's been around here a long time, but there's a tremendous amount of history right in this area.
From the early 1800s, your family?
Yes.
Wow,
yeah.
How about that? Okay, so, and you wrote a book real quickly. What's the name of the book?
It's called Matt, M-A-T-T. It's Warriors and Wagon Trains During the Civil War. It's a diary I had of my great-great-great-aunt who traveled from Mexico, Missouri to Sacramento, California during the Civil War.
Amazing.
And used that as the basis of the book. And you can get it on Amazon. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, and it's the author, James Michael Paisley.
James Michael. Who knew that was his real name?
Yes.
Okay. So just the final seconds, what's your website for people to find you?
TrueHistoryProfessor.com. And there you get links to all kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
So there he is, Professor Jim Paisley. You'll get to know a lot more about him in the years to come. Thank you for joining us on Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.